Hi everybody, my name is Kieron Achara and I'm a former professional basketball player. I'm most known for captaining the GB squad and competing in the 2012 Olympic Games, as well as representing Scotland at the Commonwealth Games in 2018 and captaining that team as well. A typical day for a professional basketball player was quite unique. When I was playing, especially over in Italy, we would have 2 training sessions a day. So I would get up early, get my breakfast around 6, 7 a.m. and then we'd start training usually at 9 till 11, so a couple of hours training session. Then I would always come back, and in the continent we're very renowned for a siesta, so I would always get a little sleep and then go back to training at night. It's either 6 till 8 or sometimes it was 8 till 10, depending if we were going to have a late game that weekend. And it's crazy because you think about, you had 4 hours of the day, you end up having a lot of spare time. So thankfully during my times in Spain and Italy, I took Spanish lessons, Italian lessons, and constantly was continuing to learn. Then my last few years of my career, I actually went back and completed a master's while I was still playing because we had so much spare time. So that was my advice for any young athlete specifically, is to make sure you use your time wisely and don't just waste it by sleeping all day or playing computer games. The most memorable moment of my career would probably have to be competing in the 2012 Olympic Games. For me, it was a goal of mine to become an Olympian. Actually, it was the reason I went professional. So actually being told I was on that squad and going and playing in a home tournament in front of a home crowd, it was just an unbelievable feeling. Especially that opening ceremony. It was. I look back at it now. It was just so surreal. I was like a little kid in a candy shop. It was filled with excitement. But yeah, definitely the most memorable moment in my career. I would also have to add completing my masters as well. As a player, finding the time to use my time management skills to kind of go and get my further education and prepare me for life after sport. I think that was a big achievement too, and it kind of gave me the confidence to go forward, that I knew I could go on and succeed even after I was done playing the sport I loved. The worst part of my job, it would have to been, there was a few, getting injured. Always injuries were always setbacks, and it came part and parcel with the job. It was a very physical game, so there was a lot of injuries. And when you're out injured and you can't prepare, practice and playing games, it can be quite mentally challenging, not knowing what was going to happen. Another thing was not knowing where you were going to be the year after. Usually basketball contracts were year to year, so you never knew where you were going to be. And like I said previously, I'd played in so many countries, I didn't know where I was going to be the year after. So it was really hard to kind of build a life outside of basketball, because you never knew where you were going to be the year after. Even making friendships and acquaintances, everything else, it was really difficult because you were always moving on to something new. So I think these were the two things, the worst parts about the job, was just the constant change and the niggling injuries. The best part of my job had to have been the travel. I just loved getting to soak up new cultures, living in new countries, meeting new people. I loved that, and also getting to entertain. Playing a sport for a living, something that I really enjoyed. It was really meaningful to me, and getting the chance to be on TV and be a role model to so many other people, I really loved that. So I think that was definitely the best part of the job. The key skills and attributes I think to be a professional athlete is, first and foremost, is belief. Having that belief that you're good enough, and that's quite a hard thing to accomplish, because you're told constantly that you shouldn't be playing sport, you should think about other things. So trying to find that balance between I'm good enough to achieve those things, I'm going to go for that, but at the same time acknowledging that it's never going to be forever, so you have to kind of balance that time. So that would definitely be the next skill. It would be the time management skills. I think that any good athlete knows how to balance their time, and that's from thinking about when they wake up, getting the proper sleep, when they're training, when they're eating right, when they're balancing the things off the court. Those are things that can be quite challenging at times. So time management. There's also, everyone always talks about resilience. There is going to be a lot of setbacks, and it's that kind of belief and having that purpose that you can continually keep going to be the best you can be. You obviously have to have a hard work ethic. So working hard is probably the thing. It's the catalyst for all of that. If without the hard work, you will never make it to the highest levels. And finally, in a team sport, good communication. That was always critical. To be a good team player, to fit into a team, you have to be able to be a good listener, active listener, a good talker, and the ability to take criticism and use that to kind of motivate you to do what's best for the team. So these are definitely all the attributes I think that you need to do to be a good professional athlete. And the advice I would give to anyone who wants to be a professional athlete is first, having that realistic kind of goals of where are you at this moment in time. So are you a part of a club? Are you getting scouted? How do you get your exposure? So I always talk about the three. There's always performance, your images, who you as a person, and the final one is exposure. Without that exposure, it can be very, very difficult. So creating a CV which usually is made up of everything that you've done as an athlete thus far, kind of getting your kind of game tape to kind of highlight the kind of player that you actually are, and the people who are actually on that path, who are achieving those things. My biggest piece of advice is to make sure that you understand that you're more than an athlete, and being an athlete is not enough. You have to be making sure that there's something else in the background. So for me, it was education. For some, it's developing new skills, working maybe on your public speaking, working on your branding. All these things can be very, very critical, because, like I said, a sporting career is very, very short. So there's going to be a lot of life left to live. So you have to make sure that you're finding a way to balance all of those.